You are listening to Waffle, the bite-sized podcast, with Paul Jenkins. First broadcast on Rossendale Radio on the 6th of December 2020. This week, Paul talks to musician Steve Wilson. They talk about his musical influences, the inspirations behind his songwriting, and we get to hear his new single, Broken Soul.
104.7 Rossendale Radio.
So, my guest this afternoon, singer-songwriter Wilson. We'll be talking to him, but this is his brand new track. It's a great one. This is Broken Soul.
You told me your lies, won't you give me some truth? Just a word to the wise, you get along in the tooth. Yeah, the further you go, the more that you learn. Are you saving the world, or are you watching it burn? You got your head in the clouds, oh, you got a heart in the soul. You better figure it out. You got a broken soul. 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 Had you been there, oh, you don't get to choose. You wanted something to love, they give you something to lose. And the harder you fall, the harder you break. Oh, the weight of it all is getting harder to take. You got your head in the clouds, oh, you got a heart and soul. You better figure it out. You got a broken soul. You got a broken soul. You got a broken soul. You got a broken soul.
104.7 Rossendale Radio.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Weekend Wind Down. It's Paul Jenkins, and it's time for our Waffle Hour. Every single week, we speak to a poet, a performer. We speak to somebody who might be a writer, or we might speak to an educator or a teacher. And this week, we've had the immense joy of being able to listen to our guest before we even talk to them. Steve Wilson, are you there?
I am. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing well, thank you very much. Whereabouts are you calling us from this afternoon?
I'm at home in Huddersfield, sat in my office today.
So you're not far off. You're just over the border. We'll allow it, I think, is what we say over here in Lancashire. You've got your passport ready if you ever want to come over, right?
Yes, I've got it to hand.
And so we just listened to an absolutely brilliant track. We listened to Broken Soul. Now this is your latest offering to the world, isn't it?
It is. It released a week ago tomorrow.
Fantastic. And so and How's it been? Is it sort of is it done what you wanted it to? Have you got any kind of response back from the world as yet?
Yeah, it's been pretty good, to be honest. It's kind of only a half release, because I've released it on my Bandcamp and released the video, and then next week it's due to be released on Spotify, so it's kind of half released at the moment. But like the views on the video on Facebook are coming in now, so it's doing pretty well.
It's one of those things, isn't it? When you first put something out into the world, you look at it first of all, and you keep checking it every 2 minutes to go, has somebody else watched it yet? What do they think? Has anybody left a comment? And it can be quite frustrating from a creative point of view. But this
kind of the way things are now, isn't it? With social media and whatnot, it's a whole new world.
It's like you get instant feedback, isn't it? You could, whereas I suppose in the past people might put out a record and then you wouldn't know till the Sunday whether it's sold anything or if there's a review in the paper or something like that. Whereas now, like you say, it's almost instantaneous. How do you feel about that when you put something out there for sort of sharing for the first time?
There's like ups and downs. I mean, it's great that you can just finish a song and you can put it online, straight away. But then it's kind of hard to get, attention to the song. It's like a double-edged sword. But I've built up quite a few followers on my Facebook page and whatnot now. So when I release things, it's I know there's a sort of an audience there that will hopefully appreciate the things I'm releasing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I suppose it's that fans thing, isn't it? You know that there's people that already like your previous stuff, so you're getting a really good response and feedback from it there. The song itself that we just played for you, Broken Soul. What was the sort of inspiration behind that one? Is it what was your motivation for writing it?
Well, everything's born out of noodling on just an acoustic guitar, and I started playing around with a new tuning, sort of open G tuning, and that kind of when you get your head around that, it kind of inspires you. You start going up with new riffs and things, and out of that came like 3 songs, I think, and one of them being Broken Soul. I thought it kind of had a nice foot stompy vibe, and I thought that might make a nice single. Even though the lyrics and everything, it's kind of a dark song. I thought it sounds upbeat.
It does. It's a nice tone to it. It's got a real sort of feeling of like you say. It's the lyrics, even though that the title suggests it's a broken soul, but it's also like you. I don't know. It's one of those things about a great song is that unless you really sit and listen to the words, you kind of come away from it feeling, well, that's made me feel 100 times better. And it's only when somebody goes to you, go, really, from those lyrics.
Definitely.
Do you enjoy playing with your audiences a little bit like that, of just trying out different stuff? Yeah,
and especially with lyrics, because I don't like to be too literal. I always like to be sort of abstract and. Like you say, people could be enjoying a song and it's upbeat, and only it's about some horrific, miserable thing. It's that's kind of fun.
You can kind of.
I have songs. It's the other way around as well. I have songs that have got nice, joyous lyrics, but the music's kind of dark and brooding. It's whatever works for the song, to be honest. But it is good fun. It is.
It sounds like you're very much a kind of like, because you mentioned about sort of noodling around, sort of while you were tuning the guitar, and all of a sudden there's songs coming out of that. But it very much sounds like sort of experimenting with things is your way of going about doing stuff, and it's a bit of serendipity in there. It's quite nice.
Definitely.
Well, as well as listening to your work this afternoon, we're also, as with all our guests, we invite them on to choose some of the playlists for the afternoon. And you've started off with a bit of Pearl Jam, and I think that sort of leads us in the direction we're going to be heading with your choices this afternoon.
Yes.
Why have you chosen Given to Fly?
I was always aware of Pearl Jam, but at the time I was sort of a diehard Nirvana fan. But I always used to check in on Pearl Jam and see what they're doing, and then I heard this song Given to Fly on the Yield album, and I just thought there was something really special about that song. The build up to the chorus is just, it sort of stops me in my tracks every time I listen to it. even all these years later.
It's a great song in itself. Did you were you like me? Did you find that you were always being forced to choose in the way we've always had this kind of Beatles, Stones, Blur, Oasis? You were either Pearl Jam or Nirvana. Right? It was like I felt like I had to make some sort of choice.
Yeah, definitely. And I had a friend at the time, and he was Pearl Jam, and I was Nirvana. And we'd always have conversations trying to tell the other person why they were wrong with their songs.
Well, we play plenty of Nirvana on the show already, and Pearl Jam is absolutely their turn. This is Given to Fly.
At home, in the office, in the car, wherever you are, you can listen to 104.7 Rossendale Radio.
Welcome back to the Waffle Hour. It's Paul Jenkins here on the Weekend Wind Down, and I'm here with songwriter and lyricist and musician and all-round generally top bloke Steve Wilson. We've listened earlier on to Broken Soul, and of course you spoke about Pearl Jam and sort of and why you chose that particular track. But are there any other particular sort of musical influences or reasons that you wanted to pick up a guitar in the first place, or how did it all come about? What was the reason that you've gone down this road?
I guess way back when I started high school, and it was the first time there was a music class, and I just straight away gravitated towards the guitar. But I was always kind of playing around and never took it seriously. And then around the time Oasis hit, and everybody was just into bands, and that the people would go out at the weekend, and the first thing they'd do is go see a band.
Yeah,
and, it was just the way of life back then. That's when I really decided I wanted to start writing songs, and I was quite a big Oasis fan, to be honest.
I think to be honest, we were possibly. I mean, I don't know whether the dates sort of correlate or anything, but it sounds like we were around at about the same time. Because I fell down on the other side of the coin, because I mentioned earlier on about Blur, and I was on the Blur side of things. Possibly there's a South North thing going on here.
Excellent.
But so we can just have a complete North South rivalry for the rest of the conversation. But it's again, you fall into, and you picked up a guitar. I took up the drums. I didn't take it any further than college. But it was something that stuck with you. Have you sort of been in? Has it been sort of in bands and then trying out with other artists? And is that how things have worked since?
Yeah, I mean, once we'd sort of started the first kind of band I was in, it never stopped really. I've always been gigging often. It's just a part of life, really. That's why. It's a bit difficult at the moment taking it.
Yeah, I mean,
all very difficult.
I was going to say, trying to weave our way through as performers and artists through all this lot is ridiculously tricky. I tell you what we'll do is that we'll have a listen, if that's all right, to just another one of just a short snippet of one of your songs. And this one's slightly. You described this as a slightly more political number, a promise I can't keep. Let's have a listen now. So that was I Promise I Can't Keep. I mean, as you mentioned before, that's a slightly more political song, but it doesn't particularly take aim at one colour or political party. It seems to be a shot across the bow of pretty much anyone who gets involved in politics.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, when writing, I usually try and purposely be abstract. But with the way the world was at the time I was writing that song, I just thought, I've got to be a little bit more specific with this one. I mean, whether it was successful or not, I don't know. But I tried to be more kind of, I don't know, like I was talking about a specific thing rather than just creating a backdrop, as it were.
Yeah, but I think what's quite clever about it is like you say, you don't immediately think of a particular political personality that you're aiming at, or even one particular ideology. It sounds very much like, actually, it's a kind of rallying call to bang people's heads together in some sort of way.
Pretty much. That's kind of the vibe.
Do you think that's it? Do you think it's important for sort of writers to kind of have that message going forward to sort of in music? Is it always that kind of, are we all Bob Dylan? Are we all going to change the world?
I think I enjoy when musicians and artists and whatever talk about it, but as soon as you feel like you're being sort of shouted at or told to, believe in a certain thing, or it kind of puts me off. But when artists' songs kind of just talk about things rather than, try and push an agenda aggressively.
Yeah, you don't want to be beating everyone over the head with a massive stick, do you?
Yeah, but when there's the world in a certain way, you kind of want to know what your bands think about things, and so I quite like when bands do. I guess a band like U2, sometimes you feel like you just want them to shut up and play their music, but no, I don't like U2 though. I'm not.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Is that tricky? Is that I wouldn't necessarily find U2's music particularly political, but as soon as they come out of the studio, that's it. That's when everyone. I think there's almost the kind of double-sided coin. I think Coldplay are very similar. In the people have learned to hate Coldplay simply from the stuff they do away from the music. And actually, if you ask people, they'll say, "Oh no, I'm still a massive Coldplay fan."
Yeah, definitely. Pearl Jam are the same, to be honest. They got Eddie Vedder singing as his rants and stuff, and sometimes you're just like, we get it. Please just play the song.
Yeah, play the songs and move on, will you?
Yeah, because it's the things that they say in the songs is good enough. You kind of get the message.
It is true. Now, I mean, the next song that you've chosen, I've been waiting to play this for absolutely ages and trying to find a space for it on the show. We have I've realised I've backed myself into a corner with this show because we have a movie soundtrack hour, and then we speak to the guests, and the guests are in charge of the playlist, and then after that it's a listener request. So I get very little room for manoeuvre left on this show, and you've finally chosen a song that I've been waiting to play on the show for ages. You've chosen Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden. Now, what? I can tell you my reasons for loving this song, but what was? I won't go ahead of you. What was? It was your choice.
I just think it's very dark, and it's it's the kind of lyric writing that I love. You couldn't in a million years tell what the song's actually about, but the sort of mood and the atmosphere that it creates is just amazing. And I think that one song kind of represents the whole. They've got other songs, Soundgarden obviously, but that one song, it's obviously their most famous one for a reason. I just absolutely love that song. I love the odd timing in the middle, and there's so much going on. It's just fantastic. It is that combination. I mean, for you, I should imagine, like you said, the riff of that kind of weird off twangy guitar. But for me, it's the rise of those drums all the way through, and all the ripples of drums all the way through it. It's an absolutely brilliant song. This is Black Hole Sun. This is Soundgarden.
Please log in the information requested.
The frequency.
104.7.
The area.
Rossendale Valley.
The station.
Rossendale Radio.
Welcome back to the Weekend Wind Down. It's the final part of our interview this afternoon with Steve Wilson, and we've just been talking in the musical break there while Soundgarden have been doing their thing, just about live music and gigs. And I think we all know that we miss it, and we all know we can't do it at the moment. But I was really interested to find out, Steve, about the gigs you've done in the past, because I think you mostly work on your own, but you've also sometimes worked with a drummer as well. Is that right?
Yes, on occasion. But mostly at the moment, well, not at the moment, but it's just me and a guitar, sometimes an acoustic guitar, and just start noodling away. And is that, and you were saying it's sometimes it will be for a private gig, or it might be it might be a big public event or something. Now, so I'm interested to find out what's the best gig you've ever done. Or at least one that sticks in the mind as sort of like, you know what, you came off stage and it's like, that was a good night. And it's not always a big one, is it? No, you can never tell. It's always, it's a gamble. But the band I used to be in, we managed to get on at Leeds Fest in 2011.
Oh, wow.
And that was, the gig itself was muddy and nobody played their best, but the atmosphere and stuff, it was one to remember. It was a really good one.
Does a crowd make a difference?
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you're in a band, you want to be sort of playing to as many people as you can. But I've done a lot of gigs where it's just me, where there's not that many people in the crowd, but you just kind of playing some blues songs in the corner, and that's kind of nice.
Yeah, you can still get a connection sometimes. I mean, I remember doing a gig once, and there was one person turned up, and it transpired halfway through the show. I was doing a poetry show, and this bloke didn't speak English, so he couldn't understand a word I was saying. But we had a great time. He was laughing along and doing all sorts of things. So it wasn't the worst gig I've ever had. What's the worst? And I always say to people with this question, you don't have to name names or establishments that you're in. But what are the worst experiences you've had? Because I know that a lot of musicians have found that they've turned up and gone, that was a rubbish one.
The worst one that sticks out in my mind, not that anything particularly bad happened, there was a 4-hour drive to Wales to play to the bar staff.
Oh, that has got it. That's not easy. Was that all the way through the? If it's going to be a 4-hour drive, I should imagine you're going to have to go through the valleys there to get to that one.
Yeah, it was. It was not a fun day, that one.
No. Did you at least get some sightseeing done?
Kind of on the way down. On the way back, it was just grumpy. No one talking to each other.
just get the stuff in the car and get home.
Yeah.
Did you get paid though? That's the most important thing.
I can't remember. It was a while back.
It was a while back. Well, yeah, I was going to say that would be just the icing on a terrible cake, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Before we do leave, and I always find this amazing with creative people, is that there's always this other string to their bow, or something else that they're doing. And as well as being a musician and a writer and a performer as you are, there's also the kind of creative side, the design side, and you work on mask work as well, don't you?
I do. I run a company, and my wife and I we make latex horror monster masks and things like that. That
must be pretty gruesome to work on. I mean, exciting but gruesome at the same time.
It's good fun, and very busy, especially around building up to Halloween. It's kind of all systems go.
Was it? Did you find this year? Was there? I mean, obviously with trick or treating not happening and sort of the Halloween parties not happening, I found people still did Halloween in some way or another. Did you find that as well this year?
We did. Like my family and I, we didn't go trick or treating, but we got our costumes on and just walked the streets. Kept to ourselves, took some photos, and had some fun. But yeah, as far as the mask business, it definitely took a hit this year. As expected, everyone's taking a hit. But we just sort of made the best of it.
It's I was going to say, but it's I think it's just nice that everybody's. I always find this, that if you talk to a writer, they go, oh, and by the way, I also make jewellery, or it will be somebody else who writes plays, and they'll come back and they go, oh yeah, I play the cello, and there seems to be something about creative people that they've always got this sort of other outlet as well. Well, thanks for talking to us this afternoon, Steve. And where do we go to if we want to find out more about your work or we want to listen to more of your music?
The best place would be my website, which is wilsonmusicuk.com.
wilsonmusicuk.com. We'll put a link up in the show notes for today. On the comments page on the Rossendale Radio website, we'll put that up. And obviously we'll if we get any inquiries about the music itself, we'll direct them in your particular way. I'll be shouting loudly to our fellow presenters about your work. And that'll bring us on to your final musical choice. Absolute classic you've gone for. You've gone for Riders on the Storm. Why the Doors?
I think the Doors, I've been a fan of the Doors longer than any other band, and I just absolutely love this song. It's dark and it's got a bluesy edge to it, and it's just perfect.
It's that low rumble to start with, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Love the atmosphere.
Well, thank you very much. We're going to hand you over to Jim Morrison. This is the Doors, Riders on the Storm. Cheers, Steve.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
104.7 Rossendale Radio.
There you go. We come to the end of another Waffle the Bite-Sized podcast. My thanks to my guest this week, Steve Wilson, for coming on and talking about his brand new track, Broken Soul, and of course about how he brings music together, whether it be, noodling on a guitar and it suddenly comes to you, or maybe we're writing something a bit more political. It's always nice to speak to songwriters. Everyone's got a different process and a way of approaching things, and it was a really great and fresh way to hear somebody else talking about, just that process of layering on the music on top of the lyrics, or maybe they come the other way around. And of course, we direct you to Steve's Bandcamp page, where all of his music is going to be, and of course to YouTube and all the other places that you can access Wilson's music. It's absolutely brilliant to hear. We will be back soon with another guest here on Waffle the Bite-Sized podcast. In the meantime, I need to say thank you to everyone at 104.7 Rossendale Radio for allowing us to broadcast on a Sunday, and of course to Melanie Kemp for all of her work on editing and producing Waffle the Bite-Sized podcast. We will be back with you very soon.